Let me know if this situation is something that you've experienced before. You're at the workplace, you have a lot of great data, you have every single bit of information that's going to help you prove that what you're working on is the best thing for that specific problem, project, or situation that you're in. You get in front of a bunch of people, you try to gather a bunch of your coworkers, you say, hey, check this out. I have all the data, I have everything that proves that this thing is going to work perfectly and it's going to make a lot of great changes to the company. And then the excitement that you had to bring this forward in front of everybody and to show all these folks or teammates or coworkers that this is going to be the true solution goes nowhere. Even though you had all the data and all the information, you had the science figured out, but it didn't go anywhere. If this has happened to you before, I'm here to help you understand why that has happened and how to prevent that from happening moving forward. Hello everyone, my name's Farzad Misbahi. I've held multiple leadership positions in my career, most notably as a director of business intelligence and pricing at the largest pet food distributor in the United States, as well as a program manager with a team of analysts at Tesla for the last 4 years of my career. I've learned a lot of things in my career that have helped me come to this point, which is financial independence and really exploring who I am as a person and trying to figure out what my next steps are. And for today's video, what I'd like to do is pass on some knowledge that I've learned in my career from a leadership perspective and also with working with others that have helped people figure out how to get stuff done at the workplace, especially if you're working with other people. Now, the situation that I described earlier in this video is something that I've seen many, many times, especially in those areas where data is necessary to get stuff done or to prove that a project is going to work. And there's a common trend across every single one of those situations, and that is that people forget that they're dealing with people. Like it or not, human beings have always shown that they rather follow someone that they trust or that they believe in than somebody that might just have data, but they don't really know as a person. And that is oftentimes lost in the workplace. I think what happens is that a lot of workplaces place way too much focus on just do the work, do the work. This is what you have to focus on. If you get all the right data, things will get done. Everything's going to be great. Just focus strictly on your work. But what's oftentimes lost on the people that work there and sometimes on the company itself is that a company is ultimately a collection of people. And those people are the ones that are doing the actions or making the decisions needed to move the company forward. Now, imagine walking down the street and somebody shows up to you, just a random person. They're like, hey, look at all these data sets that I have. Tomorrow, a recession is going to start. I think you should sell everything that you own, all the stocks that you have. You should pile up a bunch of cash. Oh, and by the way, you should really cut down on your spending and your debts because we're going into a recession. How are you going to act? You're going to be like, who the hell is this crazy person coming up to me with a bunch of data sets? Now, imagine that this person actually had the data sets that were correct, that were actually describing that a recession was coming up, but you're going to sit there and be like, this person's nuts. This person just showed up out of nowhere and it's throwing all this information at my face. What am I supposed to do with this, right? Believe it or not, and like it or not, that's how the workplace works with people. When you have a company that has sometimes thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, the dynamic is very, very similar. Those people that wear the same badges, the same clothing, the same everything that you do at that company, in the end is no different than you walking down the street and a random person coming up to you and just throwing data in your face without you having any idea who that person is. And so if you want to avoid being that person on the street that has all this data and wants to get it in front of people, what you have to invest in first, always in the workplace or really anywhere in life where you want to get stuff done, is you have to build trust. You have to make people comfortable that they can trust you as a person. Forget the data that you have. Forget all the different things that you've worked on. People ultimately trust those that they're comfortable with. What I really mean is just get to know your coworkers, get to know their personalities, get to know what they like and don't like. What are their hobbies, right? What are their tendencies? And don't be afraid to be a little bit vulnerable yourself. Talk about yourself as well. And, give them a little bit of background as to who you are, where you're from, the things that you've done, but also make sure you focus on them as well. Get to know them as humans, as people. Everybody's so complex. Even though a workplace is filled up with people that are going towards the same mission and are all working towards the betterment of the company, every single person at that company is completely different. And spending time really getting to know those people and allowing those people to get to know you as well builds an immense amount of trust. And that trust is what gets people to be comfortable once you present them with the data or with the thing that you're trying to get done. Humanity at the workplace oftentimes gets sidetracked for let's just get stuff done. Forget it. Leave home at home, work at work, and then let's just get stuff done. And to a point, that makes a lot of sense. You don't want to go around the workplace just telling everybody how your home life is or if you're having any sort of struggle, right? Absolutely, there are private things you want to keep to yourself, but connecting to people on a human level will do wonders for your ability to get stuff done. I remember vividly around the time when I was leaving Tesla, a senior manager came up to me and he's like, hey, I don't really understand how you get so much stuff done. It seems like when you're going in and you're presenting data, it's almost like people just are like, yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Let's go with your stuff. And what I told them is, hey, listen, so for me, I always want to make sure that the data set that I have is always great. It's always perfect. I spend a lot of time making sure the data is very, very good and compelling and something that at the very least we can test. But the key thing that I spent a lot of time doing before I did that is creating relationships with the people that I'm going to be working with. That's my coworkers. Those are my bosses, my boss's bosses, literally everyone that I know I'm going to work with and those that I think I'm going to work with. I spend time getting to know them, getting to know their personalities, getting to know who they are as people, and sharing a little bit about myself as well so that they know who I am and making myself a little bit vulnerable. Hey, here are the things that I'm a little unsure of with the workplace. Can I get some advice? Making sure that you make yourself vulnerable also instills a lot of trust with people because people then are also going to let their guards down a little bit so you get to know them a little bit better. And that connection is the foundation for trust. There's a saying that I use, and that is life is more art than science, meaning that art of interacting with people, that non-scientific way of getting to know people and getting to know your coworkers is more important than the science. Because unless you have that art figuring out how to get to know people or figuring out how to interact with people and getting to know people and letting them getting to know you, unless you have that in place, all the science in the world, especially at the workplace, is not going to get looked at. It's not going to be viewed as something they can trust because ultimately that science comes from a person. And if they don't trust the person, they don't trust the science. And of course, that can be very unfortunate. Why can't we live in a world where the science, where the truth of something happening is ultimately the thing people follow, but humans are going to be humans, and understanding how people work and understanding how people think is ultimately the right way to get stuff done. And of course, you never want to be in a situation where all you do is persuade everybody and just become a really good human interactor and somebody that just knows how to get that trust built without also having the science figured out. Because you'll end up getting into a situation where you have the art figured out, you know how to get people to trust you. And then the science, if it's broken, then that trust becomes way less than it ever was. You'll go from 10% trust to 90% trust to like -50 trust, because the last thing people want is to be completely let down. So you have to make sure you work on both. You have to work on the relationships, and you have to make sure you're extremely good at putting data and things together that prove that something is going to work. But you have to do the trust piece first. You have to build relationships first, and then you present your science, then you present your data, then you present the reasons why something's going to work. Now, if you're in this situation of not being able to get stuff done because you have to work with people and you aren't able to build that trust, and you're very, very uncomfortable getting in front of people and getting to know them and them getting to know you, it might be worth figuring out, okay, am I in the right career? Am I doing the right thing here? Or am I just not taking a big enough risk or stepping outside of my comfort zone to actually get to know people? Ultimately, what I found is that people have so much more in common than you think. You'll be surprised at how many things people have in common. It doesn't matter how different you think that person looks or what is going on in that person's life. People have so much shared experience. And so if you're not comfortable feeling uncomfortable, if you're not comfortable getting outside of that comfort zone and really trying to figure out how people work and how people are, then it might be worth pursuing a different career. But ultimately, it's up to you to decide how to best approach this. If you feel like this is something you want to try, give it a shot, see if it helps you. And if it does work, great, let me know. Let me know in the comments. And if it doesn't work, also let me know in the comments so we can understand together why it didn't work. I really hope this video was helpful. And if you did find it helpful, I would love it if you throw me a like. If you'd like to support this channel, I also have a Patreon link in my description below. And you can also click on the join button right below this video. And lastly, I have a podcast series on this channel, which can also be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and your favorite podcast app. I wish you the best of luck in this journey. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.